Hey friends, I have some great news for you. So this week, I'm going to be hosting The Daily Show for the very first time. I'm hosting tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. And this show has meant a lot to me for a long time. I started there as a writer in 2017, and I've loved it ever since. I've loved the people, I've loved the process, and for the first time, I get to sit behind the desk. And if you've ever wondered what the show would look like through my lens, well, this is your chance to watch it. And I just want to say thank you, because this is in no small part because of you, because of this community, because of everything that we're doing on this channel is a lot of what led to this opportunity. And so I appreciate you very, very much. And if you are inclined, if you're in the area, go ahead and watch Comedy Central live or on the Paramount Plus app. There will also be YouTube videos of clips of it dropping as well. But thank you so much. I hope you enjoy seeing me host. I have some amazing guests, and I'm excited to bring the show to you in the best way that I can. And I hope you enjoy the video this week. Bye.
Please make it loud for John Johnson!
Okay. All right. Look. Okay. So we are in week 2 of there like kind of being files but no files, but like there's kind of like we don't know, but he doesn't know, but he knows, but he doesn't remember, but he wasn't there, but even if he was there, it's not what you think. But like it's a lot going on, right? And so with everything that fell out with Trump last week, now you have people being like, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, right? And in prison is Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, in case you're not familiar with Ghislaine Maxwell, like one of the central people to this case, she trafficked for Jeffrey Epstein, right? And she is still alive somehow, and in prison, okay? Yeah, so she's still alive in prison, right? And she actually got 20 years for her part in this trafficking. And so now with Trump calling Epstein a hoax, there's been a lot of, how do I put this? There's been a lot of unintelligible takes on if he's saying the entire thing is a hoax or just his involvement is a hoax, or no one can really tell. There's not a lot of like centered messaging on what is supposed to be the narrative here. And because of that, now you got Ghislaine and her lawyers from prison being like, oh, well, if it's a hoax, no, I'm just saying if like nobody got trafficked to anybody, then I'd like to appeal, right? And then there's people that are like, the client list, we need the client list, we need the little black book, we need the client list, why won't they release things? And then you even had Democrats saying in the House, like, we want to release the files, and they put it to a vote, and Republicans voted to block that release. And they voted to block that release, they said, because, oh, it was part of another bill and it would have passed a bunch of stuff we don't want to pass. So then a bipartisan group went out and they were like, now we should vote on this, and it's Epstein stuff only, right? So everyone's like, release the files, right? And then Ghislaine is like, I got the files. I got them in my head. Like, I'll tell you right now, which is such a crazy thing to me to watch. If you've been watching this whole thing take place, Ghislaine got arrested in like 2020. I think she got sentenced in like 2022, and she's been in jail this whole time. Why is she just now saying, I got the list? It feels like when your boy who like really thought he was gangster finally goes to jail and gets like the first roach in his sandwich, and he's like, I'll tell anything you need me to know, like anybody, if you have any questions, I will answer follow-up questions, just please get me out of here. I think there's rats in the cheese, please. And so you had Trump really stressing this week, stressing hard, going back and forth with people. This man's getting more comfortable cursing out loud and on text. Like, he's crazy. Just like decorum's fully out the window. Like, there wasn't much of it to begin with, but now he's just like, ah! And this is the other thing that trips me up, is that they're throwing everything they can in front of this like Epstein monster, like Pac-Man, right? Let's just throw this while we run away. And they never admit that Trump isn't doing well in any way, ever. And then they came out saying he had chronic venous, I don't really know what that third word is, I'm not gonna lie to you. But basically he got chronic veins or something. I don't know if that means he got extra, or I don't know what it is, but it's affecting, you know, his health a little bit, and his hand looks horrible. His hand looks like he got an ace bandage on it, but like that's his skin, right? And so I saw that and I was like, wow, they must really want this thing to go. Talk about anything else, please. And then just today, Tulsi Gabbard released these Obama Russia files. You know, the files everybody's talking about. You know, the files that just last week were like, when they gonna release those Obama Russia files? Why can't they get the Obama? What is Obama hiding? All right, we want his Russia files. You know, we've been hungry, thirsty for some Obama Russia files. Ooh, I can't wait to it. I can taste them. Let me get those Obama Russia files. That's so bad. That's so bad. It means you have nothing. You truly have nothing to throw in the way of this thing, because Obama Russia file, you won. You won in 2016, you won in 2024. I haven't read the Obama Russia files, admittedly. I haven't read them yet. But I have a spoiler alert for you. Trump came out on top. And he over here stressing when he could have just done nothing. Eventually, he's in the White House, he's asked about it, and he's like, look, if Pam Bondi finds anything credible, she can release it. That's all he had to say the whole time. He could have avoided this entire thing if he had just said that, look, if the AG finds something credible, she can release it. And then people really don't have much to say, because it's like, that's what they want. He says you're gonna get it. I don't know if that's true, but like, that's all you have to do. Keep your calm, play it cool. Instead, he was like, why would you, And it's because he felt caught. And the only people who within this week have been as caught as Trump and reacted as badly was that couple at the Coldplay concert. I thought I was shocked when I saw like Trump's Epstein files tweets, right? This thing, the clip is about 14 seconds. I've been watching it for 20 hours. Okay, all right. In case you haven't seen this, it's a Coldplay concert, right? Coldplaying. Coldplay doing their thing, all right? Being colds. Coldplaying particularly hard that night. And they did this thing that's becoming more popular at big concerts, because Coldplay doing like a stadium. And there's a thing that you can do at a public event, like an entertainment event, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whatever, where you can put out a cam into the audience. And I don't know how to describe it, but when you do that, it does make the entire thing, as big as it is, feel more intimate. Because now you're over here enjoying Coldplay, and you see the other people there enjoying Coldplay, and they're just like you. And they're just as excited to be on the screen as you would be to be on the screen. And they're having such a good time, you know? And so you're like, this is amazing. We're all here together enjoying this thing. I genuinely like those cams because it reminds us that we're all doing the same thing, having a good time, you know? And if we're all doing the same thing, having a good time, maybe we're more alike than we think. If we're more alike than we think, then maybe when we leave the basketball game, when we leave the show, whatever, we have less reason to argue. We have less reason to look at each other as like just completely different entities. It's like, you're just like me. You like Coldplay. You know, and I'm not you know, a big enough act to do like a stadium or anything like that. I don't really have screens at my shows and stuff. But I heard that the CEO of the largest tech firm in Louisville was here tonight, and so I brought a cam out tonight. If you want to. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I can't afford that at all. No, but if you didn't see the clip, is basically Coldplay throwing people up on the cam and having little interactions, or like playing a little something just for them, or just commenting on how sweet people look. And they're going, people, people, people. And then they go to this couple. It's not just any couple. They go to a couple holding each other Titanic style. And to be fair to her, she didn't have the arms out like Rose. She was holding his arms. And then Chris Martin is like, look at this couple. And I don't know, okay. This is where I wish I knew more about like technology and the brain and stuff like that. Because the same way that there is latency on the internet, and there's a delay on a call where sometimes you can hear yourself in someone else's side of the phone call, and you can hear how you spoke, but there's a delay. It's like a second later you hear your own voice, what you just said as you're speaking. So it takes a second. And I don't know, because I've never been in a situation where I've been on a big camera like that, the amount of time it takes your brain to register that that's you that you looking at. Because they're over here, Titanic style. If you've ever seen the film Titanic, And if you're a 90s baby, you know that when Titanic came out initially, home release, it was on VHS. And it's such a long movie, it's such an epic, that there were 2 VHS tapes. If you're young and you don't know what a VHS is, don't tell anybody that. Keep that to yourself and Google it, all right? It makes people feel bad when we have to explain that we used to have to basically bring a projector home inside a hard casing and then put it in a VCR. If you don't know what a VCR is, that's some other letters you don't need to worry about, okay? You're never gonna come in contact with them in your life, but you would put the VHS into the VCR, you would hit play. You understand play, right? You're not too young for play. You would hit play and it would play the thing like it does on demand, but we didn't have on demand yet. Netflix wasn't born yet. We didn't know what streaming was. And Titanic came out and it was such a long movie. I hadn't seen this 2 VHSs. I hadn't seen that since Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments. If you're too young to know what Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments are, it is also a film, but that film is almost as old as the people the film is about, all right? That movie is about Moses, who probably had a VCR, really. Like when you think about how long ago Moses was and when we used VCRs. But Titanic came home with you, it had 2 VHS tapes. And you watch the first VHS tape of Titanic, and it plays till about half the movie. And then it tells you to enter tape 2. Tape 2, which will be far more depressing. If you were like me and you shopped at a lot of like thrift stores, sometimes when you go to a thrift store, you don't get to get the thing the way it was intended when it was sold. You might go to a thrift store and buy Titanic and think you got all the Titanic in one VHS tape. And then bring Titanic home and watch Titanic, but you only watch tape 1. And so you don't even know that there's a tape 2 until the end of the VHS where it says insert tape 2, and you don't have it. So you're like, all right, I'm just gonna have to settle with what I got, which was a very sweet story about 2 people who met on an epic adventure. I think I'm willing to leave it there. And it's not until years later you find out the horror that is Titanic Part 2. Part 2 where everything going awry. And all I can say is the first 2 seconds that this couple was on the kiss cam looked a lot like Titanic VHS tape 1. And then when they realize that they are the camera, it looks a whole like Titanic VHS tape 2. Honestly, they look like they on the Titanic. When about tape 2 takes place. And so you see them. And this is where things went wrong. Because rather than just playing it cool than just, chilling. The woman immediately covers her face and whips around. Okay. All right. Look. Look. Don't judge, okay? When I was a kid, there were kids in my neighborhood who went a totally different direction than I did, right? And sometimes I'd hear about them, and you especially hear about them if you stop seeing them around. And I quickly got used to the idea that if I hadn't seen somebody a long time, they probably didn't just move away. They may have been locked up. Something may have happened to them, right? And there was a kid who was nice enough a few blocks down. Sometimes I would walk to work in the morning, and it was a long walk. And I would pass his house, and sometimes he'd be out front of his house with people. I'd say hi, they'd say hi. We weren't like close or anything. And one day when I was back home from college, I went to this hookah lounge with my friends. And at the hookah lounge were the guys who I used to pass by while I was in high school, working that job, running every day to work. And I asked them where, the fourth was, the dude that was usually with them. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, he doing a little time. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, well, he ran up in this store to rob it. And, he had he was pretending to have a gun and everything. And not only did he not have a gun, the store clerk wasn't scared of him. And so he's over here doing one of these. Let's talk about this real quick. Because I've known people who have had people run up on them and they didn't see the gun, but they were sure they had a gun because of the way they moved with it, right? A little bit of weight to it. Maybe it was tucked. Maybe it was in the pocket. But there was just a slight motion that they had. There was just a way that they were behaving where if they didn't have a gun, this is some great acting. But this man, he ran up into the store. Give me everything. Do it now. I'm not messing around. I would hate for this to go off. And so the store clerk kept his cool, and he was like, no. He's like, what do you mean? I am armed. Ready to kill. Oh, you don't think I'll do it? I'm crazy. And the store clerk, apparently, according to their story, told me, I don't think you'll do anything because... And he points up, and he looked up at the corner, and he was on camera without a mask. And so apparently he went, and walked out the store. I understand the immediate reaction to want to cover your face when you realize you're on camera. But don't do it with your fake gun hand. But he got arrested from rolling up in there and even the attempt and everything. And so he did a little time in jail. And I'm just saying, you're on the kiss cam, and immediately something seems awry when you go, oh! And that by itself wouldn't have actually been that bad. No, I'll tell you right now, this is what I firmly believe. I truly believe this from the bottom of my heart. I think that obviously, there's something up when you see yourself on the cam and go, oh, and then you turn around. But, like Chris Martin said, later in the video, maybe shy. Maybe you're shy. And if only one of them had reacted badly, if only one of them had reacted badly, they might not be in this situation. But she went, oh! And then the man just starts to sink. Where did he go? No, for real, where did this dude go? This man didn't just duck under what he thought the camera could cover. This man got caught. She turned around and he went, ooh, But like, where did he go? Like, truly, where was he? He never comes back. Did he open a portal? He might have been in an abyss. This was one of the crazy, because then he's gone and then she's just standing there. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know where their seats are, but it seems like he jumped. I was crying. This man went under everyone, I suppose. Fully disappeared. And then Chris Martin went, either that couple is really shy or they're having an affair. And the internet said, or? No, that's an affair, dog. Tried to be gracious just in case, but no. That was wild, and then we didn't know it yet. But there was another woman off to the side that presumably knows everything that's happening with them. And wow, people find out quick. The internet works quick. Internet was like, I got all night. I'm not at the Coldplay concert. And within hours, people found this dude's name, where he worked. They found her. They found out that they weren't married to each other. This man married, and then, you know, the internet did a thing where, look. I do think it's important that people know the truth about what's happening in their lives. And I can only hope, like genuinely hope, that the people that reached out to that dude's wife did it with at least some tact. But a lot of people reached out to her, commented, "This is where your husband's at. He's at the Coldplay concert." The Coldplay concert, from my research, isn't even that far from where you live because I already went ahead and doxed him. I just want you to know. And so then people looked him up, and then they looked her up, and early into people looking her up, she had changed her last name on social, apparently. Knocked his name off. And then it looks like she deleted or made private her socials altogether, which I completely understand. And then people started looking into him. And this is the thing about treating people badly. As soon as something blows up like this, anything you ever did comes out. This dude cheating on his wife, and then other people were giving their little testimonies. "Oh, I worked with him. He's actually terrible. He makes toxic work environments. He's incredibly abusive to his employees," saying all this stuff, right? And I don't know if these people actually work with him or not. It's so hard to tell what about this is real versus like people just trying to get in versus people trying to be part of it and stuff. And then I had a moment, genuinely, I had a moment where I was like, what if? Let's entertain for a second. What if this isn't real? I genuinely thought, because some of the kiss cam stunts, some of the things they do at sports games are like completely fake. They'll be like a fake proposal just to like make everybody laugh and maybe go viral, and maybe they'll sell some more like Bruins tickets. And then I even thought to myself, okay, you don't really see this happen in music, so maybe, what if this was Coldplay? What if Coldplay was like, look, this is what we gonna do, all right? We're gonna get the cam up, we're gonna show a bunch of people, we're gonna get it on one couple. They're gonna freak out, Jerry Springer style, all right? One of them gonna duck, he's never gonna come back. He disappears for life. She stands there. The lady next to her, who is supposedly her friend, laughs at their lives crumbling in front of her. It'll go viral. Everybody will be talking about the Coldplay concert. Everybody will be talking about what song we played right before it happened. Genuinely, you have to entertain a lot of things when you're trying to sift through if something's real or not. You have to be skeptical of everything. And I thought about it, and then I saw how Chris Martin moved on after that. And then I saw a wide shot, and I saw that the stadium looked sold out. So I was like, actually, it looks like Coldplay is doing fine. That theory is in the dirt. This looks very real. And then I thought about the company. Andy, his name is Andy. Andy works at a company called Astronomer. I had never heard of Astronomer. I don't think anybody was talking about Astronomer 2 days ago. So then for a second I was like, what if? Astronomer, a tech company, hire Coldplay to do a stadium show. Coldplay does the stadium show. They have all their fans there. The fans don't know that Coldplay's getting a little bit of money on the side for what's about to happen. And then they throw the camera on the CEO. They throw the camera on the CEO and another employee. Right? And then they create this whole scandal. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about Astronomer. What is Astronomer? Oh, it's an AI company. What do they do? Oh, they help manage workflow. These are conversations nobody was having 2 days ago. The assumption when you're in the news, when there's a scandal with your CEO, is that your stock price could drop. I don't know if they're a public company, but if the stock price is dropping, it seems like a good time to buy. Maybe that's when they buy back their own stock. And then as soon as I was sitting in my room thinking all this, I was like, I think I've been too deep in this Epstein thing. Like, I think that, like, maybe I have a problem. And I just, like, it's, like, really changing how my brain works. And then there's the fallout of, like, this dude, not only is he caught cheating in front of thousands of people, in front of the internet, but also we find out he's a CEO. We're not gonna find much grace there. People aren't really fans of CEOs right now. And then on top of being a CEO, he's a billionaire. You basically made a Venn diagram of the three people that people hate the most. And it's a circle with your name in it. No? Because it is a terrible thing. A terrible thing that happened. And I just think about how that's something that happens like now. You know? Our grandparents, our great-great-parents would have never got caught. No, people's grandparents had whole extra families. And as long as you were willing to be a gentleman about it and really take care of both families, they never met. You know, you went on your family vacation with one family beginning of the summer, family vacation with a second family at the end of the summer, because there used to just be more affordability in the US. A lot of people talk about how back in my day, I could buy a house right out of college. And it's like, yes, and afford an extra family. Don't forget that. I've talked about this before. I've known people growing up who had like that thing happen, where the granddad, they have like cousins and like half brothers and sisters because of what the granddad did back in the day. And he was doing that on a job that doesn't even exist anymore. That's how much things have changed. This man had 2 whole families as a traveling fork salesman. This man would just go up to people's doors and be like, look, eventually in your life you will come across some spaghetti. And when that happens, you'll want to be, he sounded like life insurance, you're going to want to be ready when that spaghetti is in front of you, all right? You don't want to be sitting here like a fool with a knife and a spoon. You want to be ready with that spaghetti, all right? And how you get ready? My forks. I got the best forks. My forks can do anything. I got fine dining forks. I got regular forks. I got the nickel forks. You know those forks made of nickel they'll never rust because they're always kind of rusty. If you need forks, I can get it right, all right? Got all types of forks. I got the 4-prong, I got the 3-prong, I got he bad at counting. And then people let him in. He's like, looking at this, what was it, two bedroom? Two-bedroom house? How many kids you got? Oh, you got 3 kids in a 2-bedroom house? You're gonna need at least 16 forks. Made his living selling forks. One day, somebody opened the door for this man and he's immediately smitten. Oh, hello. She's like, yes, how can I help you? He's like, oh, I was trying to, I had this briefcase where I was trying to like fork you, like I just want to, no, I'm trying to give you fork. I mean, I'm trying to sell you forks. I sell forks. My name is John. And then she lets him in. And they get to talking about forks. And then about other things. And he doesn't tell her he's got a wife at home. And they start an affair. An affair where maybe she knows about the wife, maybe she doesn't. But then things grow. They feel like they're in love. They're like, let's get married. He marries her. Now he's got 2 fork families to support. Now he's got to sell forks harder than ever. He's got to go to as many doors as possible because the kids need braces. All of them. No, just he sells as many forks as he can, and then one day, one fateful day, sadly, a Sears opens. He's out of business immediately. If you're young and you don't know what Sears is, it was like a department/everything store where basically it was like Amazon, but you had to go. There was no click. You had to leave the house to go to Amazon, and then you had to go put everything in your cart yourself, and then you had to buy it yourself. It was like working at the factory at Amazon, except you just grabbed what you needed and you left. But then one day Sears opens, he realizes he's ruined. What else is he gonna do? He's only good at selling forks. And so he has to sit his family down. Be like, look, I'll be right back, I'm going to get cigarettes. And then he goes to his other home, his other family, and he's like, sit down, y'all. I have something to tell you, it's important. I have to go get cigarettes. And then he would go off and he'd have his own life, and he would die with a lot of life insurance, and then the 2 families wouldn't meet each other until it was time to collect. And that was the gentlemanly way to cheat in the 30s. All right? Because a CEO of a company dating, openly cheating with, I didn't know this was a real title, with the CPO, which CPO, I found out today, stands for Chief People Officer, which sounds like the most made-up job I've ever heard in my entire life. That job sounds very fake. Chief People Officer sounds like what you say at Thanksgiving when you go home unemployed, knowing that your brother is a doctor and your sister's a lawyer. I'm the Chief People Officer. Oh, and I'm Master of Business. That is crazy. I know it's a real job, I know it's a real title and everything, but just, you could have named it something else. To say that you're in the C-suite, just Chief People Officer, really sounds like it was not on anyone's mind before the name came out of their mouth. It's like, we have to give her a title. What's the title? She's head of HR. No, she was already head of HR. She got promoted. What is she over again? HR and personnel and hiring. It's like, okay, Chief People Officer? I don't know. No, it was crazy. Crazy. And now it just recolors everything with that company. Now they're probably having an investigation right now. You know? Makes you take a second look at everything that happened between them, like performance reviews. Apparently, in one of the performance reviews, the CEO said that the CPO, this is what I read, this might not be right, because everybody talking. But apparently the CEO said the CPO had deeply extensive and impressive knowledge. And that's nasty. I know what he's trying to say. No. That is inappropriate, if anything. I hope they take you down just for that. That's unacceptable. You shouldn't do things that you know are wrong. And I think when you get caught, it's also important to know you're caught and to handle it as best as possible. And I think that as far as that kiss cam couple goes, the only way they could have handled that thing worse was if they had held up signs that said there are no Epstein files.
I had no idea that there were people in this world, the volume and frequency of men in this world, taking a picture of their penis and just sending it to women. I had no idea how it's happening every hour of every day all over the world. They didn't ask for the picture. They don't want the picture, and they can't unsee the picture, you know? But I found this out because it hit close to home. Because you ladies do a thing as well, where you'll go out, maybe it's by yourself or maybe it's with your friends. You'll go out and you'll meet a guy and you don't really like him. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's no connection, there's no chemistry. You guys just aren't clicking. I don't know what it is, but you don't really like him. So at the end of the night, he asks you for your number. And you give him your number, but you give him one number off. You give him one number wrong, okay? Maybe it's the first number, maybe it's the last number. It's just not your number. I know that because I've been that number. For a period of 6 months, there was some random woman out in the world giving strange men my number. And for a period of 6 months, I was receiving penises in my phone. It was terrible. I'd wake up in the morning, thank the Lord for a new day. And then I'd do what we all do. I'd roll over and I'd check my phone. See what's going on in the world. See who's thinking about me. And there would be penises in my face. One of the most distressing things about this is that it wasn't even like, hey, what's up, it's Mark from last night, penis. It was just straight to the penis. Like, not even seeing it, who I am, you know? Not even seeing how my day is going. I lived in fear of my own phone. My phone would buzz and I would pray there weren't two penises in my pants. It was so many that honestly I had to figure out what the plural for penises was. And I decided on penises. But I think I've got to stop. I think I got to stop. And this is actually a tip for you ladies if you want to use it. If you want men to stop sending you unsolicited pictures of their penis, all you need to do is what I did, which is send a picture of a penis back. They will not know what to do. They'll be terrified. No one is less prepared to receive a picture of a penis than a man that just sent a picture of a penis to what he thought was a woman. They'll be terrified. There's actually one where if you look at the text chain, it's just a picture of a penis, a picture of my penis, and then him going, Stephanie?
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell a friend. That would
That would be a huge help if you tell people about it. Sharing is great. There's like a share button, but if you tell people, they might click on it.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I feel very thankful to be here with all of you because it's nice to talk to people who are gonna get it in a way. I feel like sometimes when I'm traveling and I go to places where, especially when I go overseas, and there are places that are not as engaged or involved with American politics, that there's a sentiment of like we're just watching the show and y'all are like cast in the show, and so that it's very different to have a chat with you. Because I'll be very honest with you, it's been taking me a long time to distill the way I feel about what is happening in LA. Because what's happening in LA over the past couple weeks is it's insane to watch, because I have plenty of friends in LA and I talk to them daily and everything. And I also watch the news, and not maybe since COVID have I seen such distant realities. Do you know what I mean? Like such like completely opposite ends of the spectrum, what is happening and what is said about what's happening. And okay, because if you're watching the news, everyone in LA is dead. They've been dead for a while. The military came, but they were too late. Everyone is, in fact, I think the military dead too. Like it's really just a black hole of death that no one can stop, but somehow the reporters are reporting. And it is strange, because when they send the reporter out to cover what some people are even calling the riots in LA, the reporter, not every single one of them, I'll get to them, but the reporter is standing there while everybody else is standing there. And they're giving a very different report than what we can see behind them. A lot of people don't know this about me, but from the time that I was a child, because I grew up in Louisiana, my family and all the families around me were all affected by Hurricane Katrina. So I have very, very strong feelings about protecting journalists, protecting reporters, and not putting them out there with the weather. Because we see it. We see the weather, and I believe you every time. Whenever you say it's a hurricane, and I look outside, I'm like, that look hurricane-like. I don't then need you to send our local newscaster to hold on to a telephone pole while he tells us how bad it is. The way that these people will almost be horizontal reporting on the wind speed, it's like we don't need them as a visual test of what is happening right now. Everyone watching is inside. There's no one watching from outside like, seems like I should probably move from where I am now. No, I hate that. I hate when it's like weather is one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what the spin could be. Like to a certain degree, I understand when a journalist, when a newscaster feels the need to go. What this shows right now is how many of y'all don't put your phone on silent. Like, there's no, I know it is. That's crazy. Well, then I will be quick then. Yeah. Okay, real quick. Just for a quick second. What flash flood? Oh no, the parade. Oh no. Y'all. Don't do that. It's his birthday. It's not my birthday. But a great example, like a flash flood, and they'll put the newscaster in the water, and it's like, well, what we can see here, John, is... It's another level of insane, because when it comes to the news and the weather, I don't know what the spin could be. There's a storm outside. No, it's not. Weather, as long as you're not talking about specifically climate change, is like the last bipartisan subject. It's like the last thing. There's no way that anyone hates, conservatives or liberals enough to see the rain and be like, but it's not. Like, that just doesn't happen. It's one of the last tethers to reality, and we make those newscasters go in it. These poor newscasters in Arizona look like they about to pass out. Half the reports they do talking about the heat. They got them over there, no shade. You can tell the budget of a newsroom by how they send the journalists out there, because sometimes they'll be out there and be like, blistering heat today in downtown Phoenix, temperatures reaching 111 degrees. Like, stop doing it, If it's hot, we can feel it, and when you tell us, we'll believe you, If it's a hurricane, this is one of the things that I have tried my best to be fair with, because you see people, and I really feel like this only happens here. There's no other country I know of where people proudly go out into the hurricane and like tap dance in the hurricane to show the rain that they're not scared. That's a distinctly American male thing to do, to be like, hey, ain't nobody scared of some water? Come and get me, and they're never seen again. I'm just saying, you don't really see that anywhere else. And I used to think that those were like the dumbest people in the world. But then as I got older, I was like, you know what? Maybe they just watched the news. And they were like, he's standing out there, and he telling me not to go outside. It's too dangerous, but he outside. What, he think I'm a punk? If he can be outside, I'll be outside. I'll be outside all I want. And then they go outside, and then they're never seen again. But the thing with people covering LA and standing in front of whether it's LAPD or National Guard lined up and protesters a distance away lined up. It's a very different thing because now they're coloring it for you, but you can see behind them. And it's hard to know what to make of it. Because when I talk to my friends in LA, they're like, very chill. They're always chill, but like they're very chill in this specific instance. I called some of my friends because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not better than anybody. I fell for some of like the propaganda that was going on. I called some of my friends immediately because I don't know LA neighborhoods that well. And I live in New York where if something is happening, it is happening to everyone. Thoroughly happening to everyone right now. And so okay, I'm digressing for a second, but just as an example, one time there was all I can describe it as is like a tiny tornado of trash. It literally was not taller than this mic stand, but it was spinning because it was a windy day out and the trash wanted to be together, I guess. And so the trash spinning. And it's like, I don't know. I grew up like, deep south and everything. So whenever I see one of those, I'm like, ooh, that's a bad spirit. Like that's I get real superstitious real quick. If you a tiny tornado, if you an eye level tornado, I don't come near you, all right? That's a bad spirit. You got Dorito bags in you and everything. You got all types of disgusting stuff. No, I might get possessed. And so I was keeping my distance, but there were other people walking down the street. I actually crossed the street because I saw it up ahead. I was like, nah, I don't need those problems. Like, I like having my whole body, mind, and soul. I don't want some of it to be like Derek from 81st. You know what I mean? Like, that feel like who would possess you? Just somebody who like never had a job and burps as loud as possible. And so I crossed the street, but there were other people that were walking next to me that kept going, and they walked right into it. And even though I was across the street, I knew when they walked into it because my back was turned, and I still heard... I'm like, not walking into a Thai tornado with your mouth open. That's just irresponsible. And sure enough, that Thai tornado got like 8 people. Just being itself. If something happens in New York, it's happening to everybody. If one train is down, the city stops. We get around it, people get mad, they get off the train, they run to work, they hop on a bike or whatever, they take a cab, but like one thing happens, it has a ripple effect. LA doesn't seem like that to me. Like I've been in different parts of LA and I thought all of it was like one thing. I couldn't have been more wrong. And so I was calling my friends and I was freaking out because I was seeing the stuff that was happening. Waymos. You know the driverless car that shouldn't exist? You know that thing that's just on the road and we all act like it's normal, but we're slowly acting out the plot of iRobot currently? You know that thing. Those were on fire. There were Waymos on fire. So I called my friends like, you not in a Waymo, are you? Oh, if you in a Waymo, get out right now. Because to be fair, we didn't really even know why the Waymos were on fire. Maybe there were people setting the Waymos on fire, but maybe the Waymos saw all the unrest and they were like, this is our time. One time I was with my friend in San Francisco and a Waymo passed by and he was admittedly very high. But he doesn't trust Waymos because the first time he ever took a Waymo was by accident because he lost his wallet, his phone, like he got all his stuff stolen, right? And so he asked a friend to get him a ride home, okay? So he gets the friend to get him a ride home. He doesn't know that friend used the app Waymo instead of like Uber or whatever. So then he's high in the story too. He's actually high all the time, but he gets into the car and he's like, you know, a little faded, a little drunk, a little high. And then he gets in the car and then the car takes off. And so the way he told the story, I wasn't there. The way he told the story is finally he asked, you know, for a little music. He's like, dang, it's quiet in here, dog. Can you turn something on? And he half nodding off anyway, but he's like, can you turn something on? It's quiet in here, dog. Like, let's get it popping, you know. Can I get some? It doesn't matter what it is, whatever you like, dog. Anything. Yo, I know you hear me talking to you. And then he said he leaned forward. This is how he tells the story. He leaned forward and saw nobody was in there, and then he started praying. Because he was like, no, you know what? You know what? You know what, Lord? You know I haven't been right. I haven't been right. And if you see me through this, I swear I'm going to change my ways. If you see me through this right now, if you deliver me through, I'm going to leave the alcohol alone. I'm going to leave the weeds. He gets home, he sees his house, he's like, thank you, Lord, thank you. And obviously he was lying because he was high when he was next to me. But a Waymo passed by and he was like, that thing right there, nobody gonna believe me when I tell you, but that thing right there, I don't trust those things, all right? Let me tell you something right now. That thing over there, all AI, all self-driving, intelligence stuff, don't trust that thing. Believe me, that's a transformer. Look, all I'm saying, if I wanted to act out the plot of one of the Transformer movies, what would I do? I come down to earth as a bunch of driverless cars, keep it easy for a little while, and then one day, boom, 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 boom. Don't get in there. Don't get in one of them. You're going to end up in its chest. I'm telling you right now. And so I called so many of my friends. I was like, hey, are you okay? Are you good? And they were like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And they said they were fine with the annoyance of like, they said that they were fine with the annoyance that I have when my mom calls me to ask me if I'm okay. She saw that there was a storm in New York, and I'm like, no, it was just a bunch of trash. Spin in a circle. It's not that serious. You worry too much. No, they were genuinely like, no, that's actually here. And they started explaining LA neighborhoods to me, and I'm not gonna lie, I glazed over. Like I just. But once I knew that they were safe and that everyone I knew was safe, I was like, well, then where is this happening? I know a lot of people in LA. I've called a lot of people. Everybody is fine. Where is this happening? It turns out it's all happening over like, I think 2 square blocks. I don't even know. It's like, it's such a small area. It might as well be a movie set. And it's crazy because if you listen to, you know, Fox News, some of these outlets, you would think that the entire city was burning right now. There are people sharing stories on Facebook, and the entire place is devastated. And the president said, if I didn't send the National Guard, they'd be in shambles right now. But then when you look at video, and I'm not talking about video from protesters, I'm not talking about video of bystanders of the protest. I'm talking about video of people in Los Angeles 2 blocks away from the protest. There are people literally blowing bubbles. And there is no opposite to your city being on fire than bubbles. Bubbles Bubbles are like a truly first world problem. Like, and they weren't even blowing bubbles regular. They were over here like, once you do it with your foot in the air, that's too much whimsy for your city to be on fire. Not blowing bubbles like, blah, blah, blah. Look at that. That's so cool. I'm talking about, And it is difficult when it's presented in front of you so heavily, an agenda with reporting versus just saying what happened. I didn't even know you could do that, by the way. It wasn't until I left the country and watched the news in other countries that you can just say what happened. Like when you watch the news in Spain, they don't even put a spin on it. They're just like, yeah, right there. They don't even try. This is what's crazy, is that the news around the world, they don't even try to be entertaining. They give it to you so straight, they don't even have good voices half the time. Sometimes there's a guy being like, yes, 2 people were found in the basement, and they said that they were trapped there by the man who lived there. Very dry, nothing. They're not putting on 2 people found dead. Like, it's... That's my favorite, by the way. I love when an anchor is like going out of a fun story to a sad story, but either they didn't get the stack of reports ahead of time, or they're just reading the prompter in real time, so they don't know that they need to do the tone shift. And so they just finished like promoting a shelter that has saved like 67 puppies or something. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that sweet? I mean, you just love to see stuff like that, don't you? Anyway, 15 burned to death in a fire. Oh. And then you see in their eyes that they're like, I already started high. I started up here if I drop it. And sometimes they try to drop it. They're like, found dead this morning. Don't act like you weren't talking the whole time. That was you the whole time. But you even see it in LA, because the misconception people have is that the thing that initially happened in LA versus like protesters and ICE and everything was like all over LA, was just all happening at one time, when actually it's around these very few square blocks. That's where all of it's like going down. You know, I'm not saying there weren't protests in other places, but those protests went on without incident. It's here. This is like the main sticking point. And this is what they keep shooting footage of over and over and over again, and showing you over and over and over again from different angles, right? And they're so thirsty for it that there was one dude that had a Mexican flag, was on a smashed up car, and you can see when you look at the picture that there are like 15 cameras surrounding the car looking up at him, and then everyone protesting is like a block down with nobody there. You know, because they're selling you a story. They're selling you a story about chaos that's unfolding and everything. And they even, you know, will have the newscaster out there. This journalist is out there. And I have a lot of respect for journalists. They do an incredibly difficult job, and they have to do it under constraints that some of us can't understand. Because if you worked your entire life to try to get to the truth, and then you finally get a job, maybe it's not even a well-paying job, and you're allowed to tell the truth until like your newspaper gets bought. And then it gets bought by a guy that's like, the truth though. I mean, what is truth really? Just say whatever I tell you to say. But it is a difficult thing to distill for yourself, because you have to. You can't just, I'm not saying that there was ever some golden age where all of media was honest and forthright. I'm just saying that it used to be a little bit more simple. That you were even overdoing it if you checked, 3 sources to see if something was true. Because there are things that used to be delivered with a little bit less. You still had the bias of the outlet, but it was a little less political at all times, and there was a little less looking for the bleed. Here's what happened. And I said it in a sexy voice. That used to be American news. You know? And now we've slowly become this more and more and more like corporate warped version of trying to do the news. News became entertainment. It became a show. And you know there's a show, you know it's entertainment because they're not delivering you the news out of the kindness of their hearts. I'm not saying that the journalists that are doing the news aren't dedicated. I'm saying that the body, the system and the machine that we look to for reporting is just, they're trying to sell razors in between every disaster. Like that should tell you something, you know? Because you see the report, and you see people, chaos in the streets in LA. Look at everything that's happening. And then you like talk to someone who's in LA, or you even just look at an Instagram story that your friend made on a random day who's not that far from the protest. And you're like, I don't know, they are loading up their car with Trader Joe's. Like that doesn't feel apocalyptic at all. Like if you can get the sliced mango from Trader Joe's, I think the supply chain is intact. That's one of the first things to go. We don't even have mangoes like that. Oh, news says absolute chaos. And then you look at somebody's, just like legit, somebody's like TikTok that they're making. Not even about the protest, just that they're making. You know they live in LA. And while they're making this protest, while supposedly the city is on fire, they're finding parking. That's not supposed to happen ever. And one thing that can't be lost on us when we think about or talk about Donald Trump is the only thing that he's ever been successful in is reality TV. We don't know him from the steaks. We don't know him from the casinos. We don't know him from the vodka or the water, which was probably vodka. We don't know him from anything except truly reality TV. Even in real estate, it's like, okay, it's like a name, but I don't know anyone who ever lived on one of those properties. You know, it's the TV. He figured it out. He figured out reality TV, and he's still doing reality TV. He's just doing it as the president. The mix of reality and TV is a different cocktail for every show. You know, there are shows that are 10% reality and 90% TV, where if you took away the TV element, none of these things would happen. These people wouldn't know each other. And then there's some that are 50-50. Like, I feel like Love Island is 50-50. You know what I mean? Love Island to me is, because look, even if there was no show, these are the people who would be hooking up with these people. Like this is, every time you watch a cast introduced of Love Island, you're like, that seems right. Like this, that's who everyone goes for that's in that group anyway. They all seem happy. There's never like a guy in Love Island that's like, so ladies. Just floating like an NPC. Like, it's always somebody with like 9 abs. And you're like, how do you get the extra? When he's standing up, when he's sitting down, it's very defined. You know, it's shows that are even mostly reality with a little hint of TV, just a little bit of producing to make sure it's polished enough for the people so that they can consume it and not be thinking about how they're on like a 5th episode of it, you know? And that's where Trump comes from. He comes from reality TV. It's the only thing that he's ever been really, really good at making. And that's what he's doing right now, reality TV instead of governing. Because if he were governing and he really wanted to be smart about it, this dude would do what he does best. He'd just lie. Think about this. This man lies about everything. And this immigration thing is the only thing he's like actually tried to do. It's very weird. Like, I just, it's a long walk, but stick with me for a second. As presidents go, most deportations have been going down. They were, I think, at least in recent memory, they were the last highest under Obama, but Obama did them all through the courts and everything. It wasn't just like a rounding up type of thing. And so then Biden had less, Trump even had less in his first term than Obama. And then now, Trump, right now, even with the show, has less than he had the first time. And it's weird to me because in the campaign, we were promised that there were millions. There were millions of illegal immigrant criminals. They were behind you. Have you checked your pants? They're in there too. They're under your bed. They're everywhere. You can't throw a constitution without hitting an illegal criminal alien. We were told that there were millions of them in the country. Yet somehow, when ICE really starts ramping up, because we're really doing this thing, it takes like a week before they were like, have you tried a school? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't find any. That's crazy. We got a couple that first week, but yeah, I guess there were only like 3,500 or whatever. I guess we're just gonna have to start going everywhere, and that's what they did. That's why it is the way it is, because ICE is over here trying to do these deportations, trying to grab people and everything, but I thought there were millions of illegal criminal aliens. Why are you finding them all at work? Like, I just had no idea that my local taco spot was specifically MS-13 Tacos. I had no idea that Tra de la Laringa, the gang I can't pronounce, I had no idea that that's who was like folding the clothes at Kohl's. Like, that's... Because that's what you've been led to believe. Every arrest is warranted. ICE is trying to do their job. All of this mandated makes sense. That's what you've been told. And the thing is, you need to make a show out of it, because even with all the chaos, even with all the footage, it's still less. That's crazy. Even with you going around the court, it's less. That's wild. That it's still less, even with all this show going on. Because what isn't a show, what's actually reality, is that people are being ripped away from their families. And these are hardworking people. These are people that have been here for a long time. These are a lot of people who are actually trying to do the right thing as hard as they possibly can. But the system is slow and it's imperfect. And then they get arrested by ICE at the courthouse for their hearing. And all of this when Trump could have just lied. He could have just been like, yeah, I did it. Who would say he didn't? All of his fans would be like, he did it. He said he was going to do it, and he did. I don't even know when he did. That was so fast. Damn. Even Democrats would be like, yay, you did it. Like, the one time he doesn't lie. And so you have this ICE operation happening on these square blocks, these protesters clashing with ICE. ICE doesn't feel safe. They don't feel like they can make movements and everything. And so then, the LAPD comes, and maybe the LAPD was there the entire time. I don't know. But the LAPD is there, and Trump sends in the National Guard. Now, he can't send in the National Guard just to arrest people and crack skulls and everything like that. So what he does, he tries to get around it by deploying the National Guard just to protect these two buildings. But then they're there in case ICE feels like they need their help detaining someone or that they aren't able to carry out their operations, right? So dangerous precedent, but whatever. So then Trump wants to send in the National Guard, which everybody, not every single person, but most people were upset about, because the LAPD, in case you're not aware from TV, from movies, or just from history, historically loves to whoop ass. That is their favorite thing. The LAPD can't stop whooping ass. They love, it's their number one. And so when the LAPD found out the National Guard was coming, I know they were probably like, but I didn't even get to. No, go ahead, send him. Yeah. No, you know what's best, send him in. No, you want to do it. And then the National Guard comes, and there's not a ton for them to do, because it's like 2 square blocks. No matter how many times they keep showing you the same footage over and over and over again of these things burning, of this like 3 stores that got looted. They show you the same thing over and over, but it's just not happening that way. And it's not that spread out. People are finding parking in Los Angeles. And so the National Guard gets there and they're like, all right, yeah, okay. All right, so there's nothing to do, and you deployed us without making sure we had a place to sleep. So then they're all on the floor. They're sleeping on the concrete with nothing to do, and everybody's mad now because National Guard isn't getting paid what the LAPD is getting paid, so now the LAPD can't whoop ass. National Guard here for no reason. And then Trump is like, send the Marines then. I know if you're in the LAPD, you're like, the Marines? National Guard had to be like, the Marines? Even the Marines had to be like, the Marines? And then LAPD just sitting there like, I just want... Is whooping a little ass too much to ask? But I know that it's very, very, very important to understand what's reality and what's TV, and not to confuse the two. And the way to combat reality TV being everywhere all the time is real connection with real people. I was able to call people or text people who were in LA that told me, no, I mean, there was parking at Trader Joe's. Everything actually pretty chill. And without that, I might honestly be like, I don't know, y'all. There were 3 Waymos on fire. I took it as a lesson. And I would hope that more people see the things that were happening in LA and make sure that outside of any news outlet you follow, outside of any narrative that you make the choice to believe, because there are so many varying narratives for every event that you do have to make choices, that above all of those things, you will talk to people. Because talking to people is the real perspective that you need. When you talk to someone who's really going through the thing, no matter what it is, no matter what it is, even bigger than LA, even bigger than the protests, when you talk to someone, you finally get from their perspective right to the root of an issue, as opposed to whoever's talking over them. Oh, and I think that for me, talking to my friends, making sure that they were safe, let me know that this thing was not what it was being made out to be. Don't get me wrong. I think that something was starting in LA, and I think that thing is scary. I think that there's a push to make authoritarian moves and to see how far things can be bent and how much people can be pushed and pulled before they'll do anything about it. And I think that LA was a perfect test for that. Let's take something that's really just 2 blocks and let's make it look like it's the entire city, and we'll see if they believe us. Let's send in all the cops we have, then the National Guard, then the Marines, and see how much people want that, if they go for it or not. So something is happening, and I would encourage every single one of you to hold on to everyone that you know. DC is one of those places where everybody is from everywhere, and everyone knows everyone everywhere else. And if you keep that type of global community together, you'll have no problem in my opinion at least, distinguishing what's happening from what's not. Because you'll have people that you can talk to, people that are really going through the thing in real time. I'm not saying don't watch the news at all. Sometimes they have newscasters on there who they put in the hurricane. It's very entertaining. Yo, DC, y'all been fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.